become what it was 5-6 years ago, even worse today. So that is frightening. And then on the inflation issue, Sean, I mean, how tone deaf can the Democrats be? The day they get terrible inflation numbers, the market drops over 1,000 points. What do? Invite James Taylor to the White House for a pep rally. This is crazy. Kellyanne's exactly right. American voters, American people, American families have common sense. They know what's going on. There's a reason why so many people think Joe Biden's doing a bad job. It's because he is, and they're going to show up, I think, in a big way in 56 days and change who runs the government.
Well, I'm hoping that you're right. Steve Moore, how do we get the economy in a better position? Because I would expect another 75 basis point interest rate hike by the Fed. How's that going to impact people if they want to get a mortgage? And what's that going to do to the housing market in general?
Yeah, so you showed some of those statistics. When you look at that increase in the mortgage rate that you talked about, if you're going to buy a median household, median price home, maybe $450,000, over the life of that 30-year mortgage, just the increase in interest rates is going to cost you about $150,000. So this is going to crush people who are aspiring homeowners. We've got to do two things. The reason the stock market crashed today is when those high inflation numbers came out, the investors realized the Fed is going to have to probably raise interest rates even more than was expected. And that's one of the reasons people fled for the exits. Now, here's the bigger problem, though. Until Congress and Jim Jordan is one of my superstar heroes, so I know he agrees with me on this. Until Congress starts cutting government spending, we're going to see an acceleration of inflation. And so we've got to, and that's why it's so ridiculous to say that this bill that spends $500 billion more money is going to reduce inflation. Nobody believes that.
Americans are suffering needlessly. So much of this can be resolved if we had our old economic policies back and remained energy independent, which, by the way, we could achieve again. And on top of that, I'd say America should become energy dominant, and we should be supplying Western Europe with our energy, and then they can bypass Putin because they're in for a rough winter. All right, thank you all. Coming up, we continue our vetting of far-left Senate candidates as we turn our attention tonight to the Buckeye State, Ohio, and Tim Ryan and his radical record. Plus, you won't believe what he said needs to happen to Republican extremists. Well, Republican Senate candidate from Ohio, J.D. Vance, is next as we continue. States all across the country, including in the state of Ohio, where Republican J.D. Vance is on the rise against far-left radical Tim Ryan. He's out there pretending to be a moderate. He's just the opposite. Now, here is Ryan on MSDNC this morning claiming that he cares about bipartisanship, but in the same breath saying the country needs to kill GOP extremism. Imagine if a MAGA Republican said that we've got to kill climate alarmist cultists. Take a look.
How do we fix all of these broken systems? Some of those answers will come from Republicans. It's not the extremists that we're dealing with every single day. We've got to kill and confront that movement. But working with normal mainstream Republicans, I think that's going to be really, really important because we have to reform these systems.
You have to kill those people off. Now, it comes as Ryan continues to mislead Ohio voters. He's trying to claim that he is a moderate who will stand up to the destructive Democratic agenda. Well, here he is on fake news CNN back in May, looking a lot different.
I'm an American. Look, I agreed with Donald Trump on China, on a few other issues, but, and I've disagreed with Democrats on stuff, obviously. Ran against Nancy Pelosi, got in fights with Bernie Sanders, disagreed with Obama on TPP, but I've also agreed with Republicans on things.
Now, of course, we will do the job the mainstream media mob will never do and actually vet Tim Ryan, because what Ryan is telling you is that he is a rubber stamp for the far-left Biden agenda and the agenda of Nancy Pelosi. He's a 100% Biden voter, 100%. Now he's trying to flip-flop his way out of all of this. And under the Biden presidency, Ryan has voted to support Joe Biden's stated position, 100% of the time, not 99, 100. He wants to abolish the filibuster. He also is all in on the Green New Deal socialist agenda. He wants to ban gas-powered automobiles. He voted against the construction of the Keystone XL pipeline. He has signaled support that he wants to ban fracking, criminal justice system, the new Jim Crow. He wants more restrictions on your Second Amendment rights. He also pushed the Russia collusion hoax. He wanted to impeach Donald Trump over the Mueller investigation. He voted for Biden's latest tax and spend scheme to weaponize the IRS. He supports taxpayer-funded, on-demand, late-term abortion, and the list goes on. So let's be clear. He is the furthest thing from a moderate, and he's wrong for Ohio and out of touch with the people in Ohio. Joining us now, Republican Ohio Senate candidate J.D. Vance. Your race is critical. This is a must-hold seat for Republicans. Looking at his record, 100% of the time pretty much tells the whole story, J.D.
Yeah, it really does, Sean. And this is a guy who, when he runs his scripted TV commercials, says that he wants to appeal to Trump voters. He wants to appeal to the entire state of Ohio. And yet when he's unscripted, Sean, he's saying that we need to confront and kill the entire movement. A majority of the people of Ohio, of course, voted for that movement in 2016 and 2020. So he's just a complete fraud on every single issue. He has voted with Joe Biden, and yet he pretends in his TV commercials that he actually thinks exactly the opposite. And I got to say, Sean, he's supported by George Soros. He's got millions of dollars coming in to swamp the airwaves in Ohio and to lie to the people of Ohio. We need everything that we can get. So if folks who are viewing can help us, they can go to jdvance.com, because if we correct the record on this guy, if we actually tell the truth, it's simple, Sean. We're going to win this state because the people of Ohio are wise and they're smart and they're not going to buy lying fraud Tim Ryan.
You know, what you're going through, J.D., is now pretty much commonplace. It's happening to Ron Johnson in Wisconsin. It's happening to Oz in Pennsylvania. It's happening to Herschel Walker in Georgia. It's happening pretty much around talking about small amounts of money. They're dumping literally tens of millions of dollars in negative ads on Republican candidates like yourself. Where is this money coming from? Because in some cases, it's up to $50 and $60 million already the Democrats have spent.
Yeah, it's the same thing in Ohio, Sean, and where it's coming from is actually Silicon Valley. If you look at the companies that have donated the most money to Tim Ryan, Google is at the very top of the list. By the way, Sean, Google is actually filtering Republican fundraising efforts, preventing Republican fundraising efforts.
We know that
even
for
as
sure.
they promote Democratic fundraising efforts. We absolutely know that for sure. The data is very clear, Sean. So they are actually using the technology industry, their donors in the technology industry, to give themselves an unfair advantage. It's why we need people all across the country to help us push back against this stuff. You know, it's so funny, Sean. They are so terrified of the truth and of their record that they're lying to people in an effort to gain political power. We in the Republican Party, we've got a simpler message. It's like, look, let's get back to prosperity. Let's get back to safety. Let's get back to securing the southern border and stopping the flow of this poison into our country. It's just the truth. And so long as we can tell the truth, Sean, we're going to do just fine in November.
You know, this is a guy that not only doesn't want any restrictions on abortion, he voted to fund elective abortions in foreign countries with U.S. tax dollars. How do you justify that radical position?
You justify it if you're trying to fire up the far left grassroots who actually fund your campaign, but it's not a position that's good for the people of Ohio. Look, people in Ohio actually believe that their tax dollars, it's a crazy idea, that their tax dollars should not go to funding abortion at 38 weeks. And, you know, Tim Ryan tries to present me as some sort of far-right radical on this issue. But at the end of the day, his position is nonstop, federally funded, elective abortion up to the moment of birth. He's voted for that position again and again and again. And I think Republicans, we got to stop being defensive on this, Sean. The Democrats, the leadership of their party is so radical in the abortion issue. We got to hang this stuff around their neck because that's just not where the people of Ohio are.
All Americans, as I conclude my term as the 45th President of the United States, I stand before you truly proud of what we have achieved together. We did what we came here to do, and so much more. This week, we inaugurate a new administration and pray for its success in keeping America safe and prosperous. We extend our best wishes, and we also want them to have luck a very important word. I also want to thank Vice President Mike Pence, his wonderful wife Karen, and the entire Pence family. All Americans were horrified by the assault on our Capitol. Political violence is an attack on everything we cherish as Americans. It can never be tolerated. Now more than ever, we must unify around our shared values.